an individual who has been thinking about and learning about Frederick Douglass for a long time, and who actually has written a short story of Frederick Douglass and thought very much about his history. So I'd like to call our own Dennis Adogo to say a few words.
Thank you, Salmaan. Thank you, Meche. Thank you, everyone. My name is Dennis Joe. I have the pleasure to serve as one of your resident tutors here in Adams House. And I currently work as a lawyer here in Boston. Graduated from Harvard Law School this year. And today I have the additional honor of welcoming Frederick Douglass's presence into Adams House. So who is Frederick Douglass? And why are we putting his portrait up in this Harvard dining hall? After all, Douglass didn't attend Harvard. He didn't look like most of the mostly white men that were used to sitting on these walls. And don't quote me on this, but I'm pretty sure he wasn't a major donor to the university. Legal historian Paul Finkelman describes Frederick Douglass as both a constitutional actor and constitutional theorist who brought his theories into action through his speeches, writings, and activities as an abolitionist, as an anti-slavery activist, and then as a spokesman for African Americans during the Civil War. Frederick Douglass did all of this and had this sort of impact on our country, despite not being a judge, a lawyer, a professor, or an elected official, and yes, despite not having a significant affiliation with an institution like Harvard. But as Finkelman also writes, Douglass went from being a fugitive slave and thus an object of the Constitution to being a free citizen and an appointed office holder. We honor Frederick Douglass today because his life story is a quintessential lesson in human liberation, and not just in body, but in mind too. For much of Frederick Douglass's life, it was a crime in many states in this country for black people to read. Against all odds, Douglass not only taught himself how to read, he went on to shape himself into being one of the greatest orators and writers in American history. In his writings, Douglass always credited literacy and education first with freeing his mind so that he could then free his body. Frederick Douglass was the ultimate champion of education as the path to truth and human liberation. Frederick Douglass was the living embodiment of Veritas, our motto here at Harvard. I close by sharing that this is truly a full circle moment for me. It was as an undergrad at Harvard roughly 7 years ago in Professor Henry Louis Gates Jr.'s Intro to African American Studies course that I first read Narrative of the Life of Frederick Douglass. That book changed my life and started me on a journey to studying Douglass's life and writings more deeply. During my senior year at college, I took an English seminar and wrote a creative short story about Frederick Douglass that I later published, Frederick Douglass and the John Brown Scouts. At 27 years old, I am the same age that Frederick Douglass was when he wrote his narrative in Lynn, Massachusetts, not that far from here, in 1845. Douglass continues to inspire me as a writer and as an advocate for social justice. My heart can only smile as I think about the many more Harvard students who will find inspiration in Douglass as they come through these halls and look up at his majestic gaze. Thank you, Salmaan. Thank you, Meche, for this truly, truly special opportunity to honor one of my heroes. And thank you all for your listening here.